Hello, this is a review and an unboxing, but first a quick disclaimer. I'm not being paid to do this review, although they did send me this device for nothing, with the expectation that I would review it. They did offer to send me a few other bits and bobs, but this is the only thing that I felt I could review honestly, because it's the only thing I felt I could actually use. So let's have a look at what it is first, and then we'll get on with the review. So it's actually a USB-C, well, you can see there, USB-C triple display docking with 85 watt power delivery. So it's like a USB-C device that provides extra monitors and extra sort of connectors. And what you've got is it's got a network port on it, and it's got a DisplayPort output, and it's got two HDMIs, it's got a USB power in, and it's got USB 2 and USB 3, and it's got an SD socket for micro and standard SD cards. So I'll just let you have a look at that so you can see what it's got. So it's quite full featured. Now we'll get it open and then we'll have a look. So I'll just break the seal on the back there, on the top bit there, and we'll flip it open and see what it comes with. There's actually quite a nice little pull tab there. So that's that. I mean, it's a small thing, but it is quite well thought out. So you open it and just pull that tab and it comes out. It caught on a few bits of paper there. So what have we got here? We've got safety information, driver download links, so it might need a driver. There's and that's German, that looks like Chinese and Japanese, I don't know. There's the English one, so we'll go straight to that. I'll put those out of the way. So the quick start guide, basically in the box it says you've got it and the guide. And installation for Windows 11 is plug and play, so you don't need drivers. So what are the drivers for then? So I'm guessing it depends on which operating system you're using it with, but if you're using Windows 10 and 11 and Mac OS, it's fine. Video display, that's actually got a sticker on it, so they've updated this, so that's what it can handle there. Just to so you can have a closer look at it. And then you've got display settings for Windows, multiple displays, Q&A, and various things like that. So that's the guide, the instructions for it. So we'll just take this out of its little box, and that sort of comes out. It's rather pleasing how that comes out. And here's the actual device here. Hasn't got much weight to it, and it's a bit, I mean, you can, the internal circuit board, you can sort of feel it vibrating when I tap it. There's not too much of a problem. It's just, I'm just, you know, saying what I see. So there's the one end of it, and there's the LAN there, and you've got DisplayPort output, and then on that side you've got presumably USB power in, HDMI 1, HDMI 2, and then you've got USB 2, USB 3, SD, and MicroSD. And then you have, what's that there? There's a headphone microphone socket there, so that's a headset socket on the side there. So that's what you get with it. That's the actual model, which you can see there. And so we'll see how we get on. That's me hitting the camera. So yeah, right, so there it is. Right, now this is useful to me, and why I said send me this one, because I've got one of these. This is a Dell, I'll just flip it over. It's a Latitude 5290 2-in-1 tablet device, and it's pretty funky because it is actually, it's tablety, because, well, it's, the keyboard detaches and you get a proper tablet. So it's not like a 2-in-1 laptop, which is basically a laptop with a touchscreen that flips over. They're a little bit annoying because they're too heavy to hold as a tablet, whereas this you can actually hold it as a tablet. So that, I've got that now, because I do various things with this. I take it to customers, I do short presentations with it, that kind of thing. Now what's irritating about it is that it's got one USB 3, because it's USB super speed, as you can probably see on there, and it's got two USB-C ports there, one of which is for the power. There is a DisplayPort symbol on it, I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a DisplayPort symbol, which is why this device is interesting. On the other side, there's a Kensington and the on switch. And on the top, there's absolutely nothing at all. So in terms of ports, this thing is a nightmare. So if I want to connect this to anything, I've either got to try and do it wirelessly, or, well, you don't. You can't do it at all. So I did actually buy one of these. And you can see it in the background there. It's the B600, well, B600 6006R. I bought a refurbished one, and it's a docking port. So you've got the actual port itself, and this one has got VGA, HDMI, it's got small DisplayPort, and it's got network, USB and USB 3. And it's got a mains power connector as well. And on the front, it's got 2 USB ports. Now, so that essentially does what this does, except it's a lot smaller. And this comes in quite a big box, and it's a pretty beefy little device. So what I'm hoping is that this will replace all of that, plus the instructions. So if you've got a device that has a USB-C port on it, but not much else, then maybe this is a good thing to buy. I've got a few little cables here to test things with. So now we've unboxed it and had a look, we'll get on with actually having a play with it, and we'll see how good it is and whether it works or not. Right, here's the first test then. This is just the device connected into the USB-C port. I've got the mains power for the laptop, for the tablet going in as well, and this is just the network port on it. Wi-Fi is turned off, which you might not be able to see. So when I'm out and about, if I want to get network connected, either I use Wi-Fi or I can't. Whereas with this, I've actually got an RJ45 port now, so I've got my little extendable wind-up network cable, and that's plugged in. I'll just do a little speed test. Obviously, it's going to be limited by my internet connection, but I'll just run it, and we'll obviously just test it works. So yeah, so the bottleneck is not the bottleneck is my internet connection, not that device there. So at the moment I'm getting 724 down and 106 up, which is about right. Occasionally I restart it, but that's behaving as it should. So this network port obviously functions entirely correctly, and that's just the device plugged in without any external power. So the network port works. If you want to add a network port to your device, it does that. So that's thumbs up for that. Right, so next test is just the HDMI output here, and you can see, hopefully you can see I've got the device just plugged in. There's no power for it, it's just plugged in, and the HDMI cable for this monitor here, which is slightly off shot, so I'll just bring it down. That monitor there is connected and it's working. I'll see what sort of control I've got over it. So if I look in display settings, I've got duplicate these displays, select a display. I can extend, show only on one or show only on two. So I'm just going to choose extend and then see what it does. Keep changes. So now this is now full screen on there. If I just bring that up like that, you can see it's full screen. And on here, that's the primary display and that's the secondary display. So I can take something like, for example, File Explorer, and presumably I can just pick it up and drag it over the other side like that. You can see it's coming over there. So that works rather nicely. That's when I'm doing sort of presentations or doing training stuff, that's the kind of thing I do. So I have the thing in front of me, and then when I'm ready I just slide it over, and so that whole split screen thing is kind of funky. So I've got to extend these displays. The difficulty is finding where the mouse is because you don't know which screen it's on. I can show only on one, show only on two, or I can duplicate, but extending the display is usually the one I go for. So I've actually got two displays now. I've got the main one for the device and the main screen there. So the next thing I'm going to do is try it with a third display and see what happens when I plug into that one. Great. So now it's getting super interesting. I'm actually going to unclip the camera for this because it'll give a better view. So there's the laptop there. So what I'll do is I'll click identify on there, and you can see that's screen 1. That TV there is now screen 2, and that monitor there is now screen 3. So I'll click identify again. You can see 1, 2, 3. So I've got 3 screens now. I've got the main device screen, and I've got one HDMI going into there and the other HDMI going into there. So it's now powering 3 screens, sending out 3 signals, one to itself and then 2 to the other. So that's pretty cool. Quite impressed by that. These trouble is, these HDMI cables are the high-speed ones, and they're really thick and chunky, which is a little bit annoying. But this is powered without any external power going to the box, so you can plug it into 2 extra screens. I'll just click this back on here, and then we'll think about what we're going to do next. Now we've got this situation, which looks a bit like one I've previously done, but it's actually subtly different. So I'll show you here. I'll just release that, and I'll do an identify. So you've got 1, 2, and then 3. Except in this instance, I'm actually using a wireless HDMI transmitter to send the image signal over to that transmitter there. Yes, there isn't much room between them, but it goes into the Ninja, which I use for recording screens, and then that gets displayed on that screen there. So this is more of a practical situation that I might actually want to do. So I've got a second screen there, another screen there, and I've got the main screen, except it's actually powering the Wi-Fi transmitter, the wireless HDMI, and that is just with the USB port on the device itself. Right, let's try the next thing. So I found an SD card. Let's have a look and see what it's like. I suppose it might make more sense to have the camera a bit closer, so I'll just rejig that a bit. Here's the SD card. I found an SD card, and while I was at it I also found a little tiny micro SD card as well, so let's see how they get on. So when I push it in, that's with the top facing upwards, it goes in and then it finds it. So this is an Amiga one that I'm working on, A600 that I'm refurbishing, and there's a one thing to work out and to point out is that normal SD slots, like this one here for example, that clicking, it's got a latch mechanism in it. So most laptops that have full size SD slots will have a latch mechanism. This isn't a latch mechanism, it just goes in. It doesn't even go in all the way, it just goes in, and then that's it in. So it hardly goes in at all, and you don't get any feedback about whether it's in right, except when when Windows updates and shows it to you. So I'm going to unplug that now, like that. Now for the micro SD, now these cards are always a bit fiddly. So if I try and put it in face upwards like the other one, that isn't right. So you have to do it face down, and then in it goes. I don't know how well you can see it, but in it goes like that. And there it is as removable disk E. So if I then get the SD and put that above it, like that, does it detect them both? It does. So I've got a drive there and I've got a drive there, and you can obviously copy from one to the other, which may or may not be useful, but the point is that that they work. So yeah, a bit disappointed it hasn't got a latching mechanism, but it's, it doesn't matter, does it really? It keeps the cost of the device down for one thing, and it worked anyway. So let's go on to the next thing. So basically, as we've seen, unsurprisingly, if you've got a device that doesn't have a video output, an HDMI port or a DisplayPort or micro or mini or whatever, and all you've got is USB-C, provided that port can handle a video output signal, because not all of them can, but providing it can, then this device will give you access to the full-size HDMI and DisplayPort connectors, so that you can plug your monitors in. So if you plug one in, you get a monitor. You plug two in, you get two monitors, and you can extend the desktop or duplicate it, and that's in addition to the screen on your laptop. So this is probably the most important part of the video, actually, is what happens when you plug in all three. So I've got two HDMI, one DisplayPort. This HDMI is a Sony telly. It's a DELL-Latitude It is an amazing TV. I've had it for a very long time. It does all my retro stuff. It's got SCART, it's got composite, it's got RF. It picks up as ZX81 without any problems at all. It's brilliant. I don't know if you remember when Sony made laptops, because they used to make laptops. They were astonishing. They were expensive, yes. They were over-engineered, yes. But people really were attached to them. And I've repaired a few over the years, and people have wanted them repaired rather than replaced, which is probably why Sony stopped. Sony left the laptop market a few years ago, which is a shame, because they did. If I find one on my travels, I'll do a little review of it, because they are incredible. Anyway, this is an Asus 8. Well, it's more than HD actually. I think it's QHD. It's a very nice G-Sync monitor. It's DisplayPort, and this one here is just a little Acer HDMI panel. That's all it is. Right, so plugging in one or two devices, they plug in, the desktop extends, yada yada yada. When you get four displays, essentially 3 from a device and 1 on your original laptop, they don't all work together. So basically, when the manual says you can have 3 screens, it means you can have 3 screens. So if I show you that, you can see it's got like triple display. So when it says triple display, it means in total. So you can either have 2 external screens plus your laptop screen, or you can have 3 external screens, but you've got to turn your laptop screen off. And that's what I've done here. So if I do identify, hopefully you can see, well, you've got screen 1 is the laptop display screen, which currently is turned off. Screen 2 is that one, although you can't see the 2 flashing up because it's quite off camera. And then you've got screen 3 is over here, that's the telly, and screen 4, which is the primary display, which is why the desktop's there, that is the Asus. So if I move this over to here, you can see it comes off that side of the screen, and then if I move it over here, you can see it goes off that side of the screen, and if I put it sort of halfway, it's snapping, so I put it halfway, you get sort of that sort of thing going on. And if I bring it over here again, it's Windows 11 is snapping all the time. I've got that, so you can see that's actually really rather that's pretty funky. So you can have a triple display, it's just you can't have a triple display plus another one. It has to be 3 in total. So it's either 2 external plus the display for your device, your laptop, or it's 3 external with the laptop display turned off. So I hope that's kind of helpful, because that might answer a question that you had. Also, interestingly, what I like about clever people is that they often consider what happens when someone who isn't clever gets a hold of their kit. So you've got the general display settings in the manual, but there's also a quick Q&A. Why doesn't my third monitor display when I set triple display mode? Right? And it's this problem here. They've answered that problem in the manual. Ah, I do like that. The trick for clever people is making sure that people who aren't clever can still do the, it's why clever people don't particularly make good teachers, except at very high levels, at university levels, maybe at A level, things like that. But at the lower levels, if you've got people that aren't particularly clever, they often make better teachers because they have to understand it themselves in a simple form, and that means they can convey it to other people who aren't very clever. Get it? Plus they don't sort of go, oh, why can't you understand it? It's obvious. You don't. So if a teacher's ever told you that, then that's just ridiculous, isn't it? That's not fair. So it's kind of why I think I was quite a good teacher. I don't know, Some people may differ, but that was always my philosophy. If you're not very clever, you need to have someone who's also not very clever who understands it to explain it to you. Does that make sense? So they've obviously thought about it. They've obviously got the question and answer thing sorted out. They've updated it with a sticker. So there's a lot of thought gone into this. So yeah, I'll stop talking now and we'll do a little summary. Right, very quick summary. 2 USB 3 ports, 2 USB 2 ports, SD, MicroSD, headphone, microphone socket, 2 HDMI, and 1 DisplayPort, and 1 network port, 1 RJ45 network port. So if your device is missing any of those ports, but it still has USB-C on it, then this is a great thing to get, because, right, like with this particular tablet device I've got here, most of the ports that are on this aren't on this, so it's actually quite useful. So you can either carry that around with you, so basically that, or you can get what I used to do, because now I'm going to use that. What I used to do was to have the DELL dock. So you've got the dock, you've got its chunky power supply. Also, one thing I think I pointed it out, it's got a little small DisplayPort on it. So you actually need a micro DisplayPort to DisplayPort cable to go with it. So you either lug all that around, so basically all that, or you just have that. It's entirely up to you. I know what I'm going to be doing, so this is going in my bag. If you've got any questions about it, drop them in the comments. Liking and subscribing is appreciated. I will be keeping this device, so if there's anything you want to test with it, then just let me know and I'll do a follow-on video. Hopefully you'd find it useful, yeah, thanks for watching.